Let's talk about God, our favorite subject. Or is it? It would be, or could be, if we hadn't been lied to about God. We could be saying, oh God, instead of, oh God. Well, our job at FreedHearts is to make you feel better about God or have no feelings about God. That's fine. But we don't want for you to have bad feelings about God because they're usually connected to bad feelings about yourself. And none of that is true. Today, we tell you a story as a contrast to God about Alfred Hitchcock. Hitchcock is known as the Master of Suspense, just in time for Halloween. This is going to be fun.
Would it be okay if I were to tell you that I am afraid someday? So I call you up and you call me down. Would it be okay?
Well, hello and welcome to the FreedHearts podcast. My name is Robert Cottrell and I'm here as always with
Susan Cottrell.
You know what?
What?
It's almost Halloween.
It is almost Halloween.
I feel like on the Halloween episodes of The Simpsons, they rename all of the cast, everything like some scary name. We did not do that on this.
We didn't.
Robber from the grave, Cottrell. I don't know. I can't think.
That's not bad.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
Susan. You're too nice to have a scary Halloween name.
Mm.
Can you think of one?
Maybe we should have thought of this ahead of time.
Sure. That would be planning and preparation. And beloved, you know that's not really our strength. Anyway, hello. Welcome, everyone. Connect with us at FreedHearts.org. It's the home of everything we do. And if you have any suggestions or things you'd like to hear on the podcast, feedback, please just email us podcast@FreedHearts.org. And remember, everything that we do is listener-supported, user-supported. So if you have the means, we would welcome and love and be so grateful for your support. A one-time gift or monthly support. You can do all of that at the donate tab at freedhearts.org. And thank you. Well, yeah, so here we go. What are we talking about today? Alfred frickin' Hitchcock?
Let's talk about God, our favorite subject. Or is it? It would be, or it could be, if we hadn't been lied to about God. We would be saying, oh God, instead of, oh God. Well, our job at FreedHearts is to make you feel better about God or have no feelings about God. That's fine. But not to have bad feelings because they're not true at all.
Yeah.
That's our point here.
And you know why? I mean, let me expand on that for just a moment here. We don't want you to have bad feelings about God because usually that translates into you having bad feelings about you.
That's exactly right.
You know what I mean, we don't.
That's right.
You don't deserve that. We don't want that of you.
Right.
So,
Right.
So do you have a story for us?
I do. I want to tell you a story as a contrast to God. This is basically what God is not. The story is about Alfred Hitchcock. Hitchcock is known as the Master of Suspense with his, especially at the time, cutting-edge movies. Whole courses are taught in film about his techniques.
And you love Alfred Hitchcock's movies.
I do.
But you do not like the person of Alfred Hitchcock.
I don't. That's exactly right.
So what's your story for us?
So I want to tell you the story of Billy Mooney.
Ah.
He is a child actor. If you've seen any shows from the 60s, that's the kid.
Yeah,
You'd recognize him and say, oh, him.
You would know that face in a moment.
Yeah.
He was actually he was the boy in the original Lost in Space, which I'm fascinated by. Every single person in that in Lost in Space has absolutely perfect hair. And I don't know how you do that living Lost in space. But that's an episode for another day. Anyway, and he was in that, or not. Hey, he was in that Twilight Zone episode where he's the kid who has the power to make people disappear and do whatever he wants them to do. So he won't make them disappear.
Yeah. In other words, yeah. They got to do exactly what he wants and be very nice to him or he'll make them disappear. Creepy. He was in Twilight Zone episodes. He was in Hitchcock Presents. If you saw TV in the 60s, he was the kid in the show. So, and he went right on acting all these years.
Yeah, he acted for a long time.
Yeah. So he's close to our age. So yeah. So anyway, he told a story that I loved hearing from him. It was a story he told of shooting on set. And, they had strict rules about how long kids could work. And it was almost time for him to be done for the day and to go to his tutor for school. So the assistant said, "We're going to lose Billy in 5 minutes. Can we get this last close-up lit?" Now, normally they'd have a stand-in to get the lighting right. An actor's not a stand-in. It's a different job. And his stand-ins were short men, he said, which I kind of love for some reason. Because then they weren't subject to the rules of getting off, for school or whatever.
Yeah, the same kid rules, yeah.
Yeah. But they, so they don't use the same actor for their own stand-in, but for expediency, they just had Billy stand there while they got the light set. And Billy said, "I had no problem being my own stand-in for a close-up, but I was 7 and I'd been working 9 hours."
Yeah, so I'm sure he was kind of fidgeting around.
Exactly.
As you at 7 years old or 66 years old after 9 hours of work.
That's right. Now, as Billy put it, he said, Hitchcock was a very large presence in every way you could possibly imagine. Yeah, he was always sweating a lot, and he had this black suit on with this tight tie around his neck and his jowls hanging down.
Just picture it.
Yeah, he was intimidating to look at. "He's huge compared to me," he said. "I was probably 55 pounds. He gets up out of his director's chair, comes over, hovers over me. He bends down and he says this to me in my ear. And I'm telling you, I swear it's exactly what he said to me. He said, 'If you don't stop moving about, I'm going to get a nail and I'm going to nail your feet to your mark and the blood will come pouring out like milk.'"
Jeez.
Billy said that he said this to me with no inkling of humor, no wink, no nudge, nothing. He goes back to his chair and they shoot this close-up of me. I don't even know what it was like at all. It all became a blur after that. I was horrified. And when they were done, I walked over to the parking lot to my mom and I'm saying how Hitchcock's going to nail my feet. And she just looked at me and says, "Oh, honey, he's British. They have a different sense of humor."
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Mom. And if he had just said to me the next day, "Billy, I was just kidding. I was teasing. I would never do such a thing," I'd probably have forgotten all about it. But he scared the shit out of me, he said, out of this 7-year-old who was starring in his show. It was incredibly scary. He said, "I never wanted to see him again, ever."
Wow.
Yeah, I would feel the same way.
And just be honest here. I mean, to terrify somebody works. It was effective. It's an effective way to get them to do what you want them to do.
Yeah, that's right. And that's what makes it so easy to just grab and go. But, use it. But Billy said, I stood there like a statue after that. And I'm sure he did. Just cut out all that bothersome kindness and humanity and just go straight for the terror. But at what cost?
Yeah. So we're talking fear. So where do you think we're going with this, beloved? Think about the ways that let's even don't say scare, let's say terrify little children with God. Okay. Mm-hmm. How many children have been terrified, filled with terror, that they would burn in hell? Way too many.
Yes.
Maybe our kids. I mean, not from us, I don't think, but maybe from us taking them to church.
Yeah.
Why is this the motivator the church uses and almost relishes using it?
Yes, exactly. And Billy said he took pleasure in scaring me. I mean, you can see it in his movies that he takes pleasure in scaring people. And he said, if he'd come over afterward and said, "I would never do such a thing. I just wanted you to stand still." He said, "I probably wouldn't have remembered it, but he didn't. He let it hang there to terrify me." And Billy said, "I think I did 1 or 2 more things with him, but I never spoke to him again, ever."
Wow.
He said, "I worked at Universal on and off for decades. I knew exactly where his office was. I would purposely walk around a different soundstage because I didn't want to see him. He was a jerk, a real jerk. I just don't understand why he would say that to a child. He didn't respect actors very much. He just saw them as his props to use. And I didn't like him." And I'm telling you, intuitively, I agree 100%.
Absolutely. Now, again, how much of this can you see in how we view God and how the church uses that fear against
exactly.
us.
Because that's why we're talking about all this as a word picture of God, of what God is not. Well, duh. But it is the undercurrent of our feelings around God, at least from what our conservative churches teach us. You don't believe me? Think hellfire and damnation. Yeah, that's God who created that, or even just, quote, allowed it, or whatever we may use to justify it. It's not okay.
And that's just one example, behavior and obeying God and all those kind of things are just so full of fear for adults, but especially for kids.
Right. And even if you know by now that hell doesn't really exist, even, yay, if you do know that, there's still an undercurrent of God, of fear about what God will do if we push too hard. Right? Isn't that true?
Yeah, that's right. We hear that every day from people. Yep.
Yes, exactly.
Now, in case you're thinking that we're putting too much weight on this one encounter, wait. Tell me another. There's more.
There's more. Though I'm not sure how many encounters of terrorizing child you need to say, yep, there it is. Okay, I get that. But there is more. He put peepholes into the dressing rooms.
Alfred Hitchcock, just to be clear.
Yeah. Alfred Hitchcock put peepholes into the dressing rooms of his leading actresses.
Oh, lovely. Speaking of creepy.
Creep City. And multiple reports from women that he sexually harassed them.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And in fact, he ended Tippi Hedren's career because she refused his sexual advances.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll recognize her. She was the lead actress in The Birds.
Yes. And in 1963. And she was in Marnie in 1964. And Melanie Griffiths was her daughter. And her granddaughter is Dakota Johnson, who was in 50 Shades of Grey, which I never saw.
Yeah, not your kind of movie.
No. Or yours.
No, that's right. Or mine. Absolutely not my kind of movie.
But Tippi Hedren never really worked again after The Birds, even though it was a smashing success.
Somebody said, let's go back to 50 Shades of Grey. Somebody said, I couldn't let that one rest.
Sure.
But someone said, if he lived if he was an unemployed person instead of a billionaire, it'd be a whole different mood to that movie.
Yeah, it'd be like,
you know what I mean?
Oh, wait, get out of here.
That's right. Anyway, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, you were saying about Tippi Hedren?
Yeah, she never worked out again after The Birds, really, because he was the god of cinema. And like so many men then and now, he had the license to do what he wanted, to get away with murder, and he did. He just did whatever he wanted.
And I had heard something. I'm going to talk about the cruelty to children thing. What did you say Alfred Hitchcock gave Melanie Griffith for Christmas?
Oh, yeah. So Tippi Hedren's daughter, he gave Melanie Griffith a miniature of her mother, Tippi Hedren, in a coffin.
Oh, my, what? Oh,
I know.
What? Oh, my gosh. That's
I know.
creepy.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Exactly. Here, child, enjoy this mini coffin with your mother in it. Merry Christmas.
That's terrifying.
Terrifying. And
it seems to be a theme for him.
It seems to be a theme that he enjoyed scaring people.
Well, he could
and
use
using
it
his
for,
power,
right.
wielding his power.
Right.
That's what. Yeah. Ugh.
So, do you have a different story?
So I have a different story now that I want to tell in contrast to all of this. And this is about Lucille Ball. And if you don't know her, it makes me a little bit sad because she was such a groundbreaker, every bit the groundbreaker that Hitchcock was. And, honestly, I don't want to use their names in the same sentence. But Lucy and her husband, Desi Arnaz, founded Desilu Productions. Lucy is the one who greenlighted Mission Impossible and Star Trek. Yeah, we have Lucy to thank for the whole Star Trek franchise. And Desi invented the 3-camera sitcom that we still use today. Isn't that amazing? He invented reruns. So these are foundational TV people. They'd never had reruns before I Love Lucy, and he started that. And when they divorced, Lucy bought Desi out and ran Desilu Productions herself until Paramount bought it.
Wow.
So all that is to say that Lucy was a mover and a shaker and hilarious. And she had a lot on her plate too, but that didn't keep her from being a decent person, a kind person. Her high level didn't require her to abuse those around her, including children. That can sometimes be an excuse for men. Well, he's got a lot on his plate. Well, so did she. Right. Thank you.
Well, I have a feeling that you're going to tell us that Billy Mooney worked with her too.
Yes.
Yeah.
How are you anticipating where I'm going with these things? Billy Mooney also had stories about working with her. He loved her. He said he was there to work. He said she was there to work, that she wasn't there just to mess around, to waste time. And it was clear to everyone that she was the boss. But she was kind and professional and easy to work with. He said she never made him feel small or scared him. He was a kid. And in fact, she made jokes and helped him loosen up to put him at ease. He was a kid, an experienced kid in an adult world of work, and she was the boss. So it couldn't have been farther apart in power. And she took care to make sure he was comfortable and at ease. He told one story. It was the day of shooting, and she wrapped early because it was Halloween. Mm-hmm. She said, "We're done. Time to go home." She said, "It's Halloween. My kids want to go trick-or-treating. I'm sure Billy wants to go trick-or-treating. So that's what we're going to do." And he said, "I couldn't believe that she would do that, how kind that was. And I loved her for it." Now, when you're making TV or movies, there are schedules, there's crew. You don't just wrap the day early.
That had a cost. That had a physical cost.
That's a physical cost to that,
Yeah.
But she did it. And, I'm sure he was wishing that he could go trick-or-treating, but he wouldn't have dreamed of asking to go home early. He's a professional and he's working, but she had his back. And it really moves me, actually. And she was hardline when she needed to be. So Carol Burnett, another classic, told a story about Lucy. Carol and Lucy were great friends. And that in Desilu Productions, Desi was the hard nose and Lucy was the star, the lovable star. And that first table read in the writer's room after the divorce was not going well because they were used to Desi being the hard nose, but he wasn't there. So she had to become the hard nose that he had been.
Wow.
So they called her Lucille Balls. And I'm sure that worked for her.
I'm sure she loved that, right?
I'm sure that she had no problem with that.
So these are great stories. Love this. We got Billy Mooney, we got Lucille Balls, and we got Alfred Hitchcock. You'll never be able to hear that name again without adding the S, by the way. And Alfred Creepy Hitchcock. So bring this all around, my love. How does this translate into what we're trying to say, what we want to say about God?
It translates perfectly. So here's how Lucille Ball's behavior shows up as the character of God. Don't get torqued. These are parables, like seeing God as like a woman sweeping her house wildly till she finds her missing coin. Okay, it's a parable. Lucy shows us God's character because she's kind, especially to those who may be nervous or in need, like this child she was working with. And she's in charge. She doesn't suffer fools. And when those men, the writers, were not taking her seriously, she made it clear that she was in charge and what was needed from them. Hitchcock, by contrast, enjoyed his cronies, the men around him, but he abused the vulnerable, the women and children around him that worked for him. There's a story of secretaries being brought into his private office during lunch to entertain him. The stories abound, and the people around him didn't say a word. What are they going to do? Confront him? No, they work for him. Yeah. He has the power, so.
Yeah. So what you're saying here is that God, as the Lucille Ball example here, God is strong and capable and is a friend to the vulnerable.
Right.
Is that right?
Right. Yes. God calls out the powerful and calls in the vulnerable. But the way God is portrayed in our Western conservative churches, our rules-based churches, is as the man in power. He does what he wants, and you don't question it. And it hurts the little people, the least of these, but you just recalculate in your brain because you can't afford to piss him off. You like making a Hitchcock film? There's clout to doing that. And you don't want him to end your career as he did to Tippi Hedren and probably others. So you just pretend that these things that are attributed to God are okay. Smiting everybody in any city that he got mad at. We've heard the justification of terrorist acts of the Old Testament against whole groups of people, talking about God's justice. That is not God's justice. That's a horrific abuse of power.
Well, and that continued in the Dark Ages too.
Yes.
The Crusades.
Yes. And once you're able to say that it's a horrific abuse of power, then you're able to say, well, who wrote it?
Right.
And what was the motivation?
That lifts the veil.
Yes. And we've talked about the Old Testament being written by an occupied people, and for some hundreds of years, an enslaved people who were expressing their collected generational grief and survival. But you have to be able to say, this is not okay. For God to scare us, God's little children, is not okay. It must be people who came up with that, who wrote all this, that justification that God did it, that God required it.
It was not of God.
It was not of God. Right. And the same with today. It's not okay for us to scare God's little children with threats of God's wrath and ultimately possibly hell, which is nowhere in the Bible.
Yeah, we do have entire
episodes.
FYI, a whole playlist on our YouTube channel about this and episodes about this if you want to listen.
Yes, about hell. You know, it's not okay to threaten people with punishment, with God's punishment, because that's easier than saying, maybe I'm a little freaked out by queer people or black people or women or others who don't meet my standards. Maybe I'm freaked out about them because of what was conditioned into me instead of something inherent to them in them.
No. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And, you know, I came across another video of Lucille Ball as a guest on a talk show. This was later, in the 70s. And the host, David Sheehan, goes out in the audience with the mic for people to ask Lucy questions. And he touches the women he calls on. You know, he just touches them on the shoulder, puts his arm around them. And Lucy said, "Take your hands off her, David."
Wow.
And he laughs. And she says, "Take your hands off her, David." And she tells him repeatedly, and he keeps doing it. It's like it's so ingrained, this idea that men can put their hands on women uninvited, that it's like what she's saying, "Take your hands off her, David," isn't even registering. You can find that and watch it. It's just like, it becomes almost laughable. Just search Lucille Ball and David Sheehan. Yeah. It's from 1978. And, you know, she speaks the hell up. And that's what we're talking about.
Yeah. So let's talk. So we got Alfred Hitchcock, Lucille Ball, and God.
Yes. So to wrap all this up, God, like Lucille Ball, comforts the afflicted and afflicts the comfortable. God does not, like Hitchcock, make the comfortable more comfortable and desecrate, terrorize the vulnerable. No.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah. So, you know, and you may have some undercurrent of resistance to God, some fear of God, of pushing God too far, because you've been taught that God loves you, sure, but you don't really deserve that, fallen human, so don't push it. That's the common teaching of our conservative churches about God, that God is essentially dangerous. So be careful that, you know, and you are careful, that God could go off any second. And so you've learned to keep your head down. You don't look him in the eye. You don't fidget, or he might come whisper something terrorizing in your ear that he'll nail your feet to the floor and the blood will run out like milk. Yeah, and he'll enjoy saying it. No wonder you may sometimes feel terrified in those moments like bedtime when you're all alone with God and your worst fears torment you. It is this fear of this potentially dangerous God that creates the confusion and the panic that you sometimes have a hard time pushing down. So here's a challenge for you. When you feel that resistance to God, even just a little bit, instead of pushing it down, which we do automatically, instead let it bubble up. Go all the way. Picture Alfred Hitchcock terrorizing that little boy, giving a little girl a coffin with a miniature of her mother in it, foisting himself onto women, and then destroying them if they resist. Controlling people, vulnerable people, because he likes to. Get that picture in your mind and then say, is this God? No, it's not God. I don't care what my pastor tells me, or my priest tells me, or my parents tell me. This is not God. God is love, right? And that is not love. Then picture Lucille Ball, fully capable of doing the job she's there to do, and kind to the less powerful people around her. And she'll call out those who abuse their power against these little ones. You bet, like any good mother. And then you can say, that's God. Keep doing that. And you watch that fear and resistance to God just dissipate.
Well said. We love you, beloved.
We love you.
We'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Would it be okay if I were to tell you that I am afraid someday? So I call you up and you call me down. Would it be okay?
You've been listening to the Freed Hearts Podcast. We have extensive resources and vibrant, inclusive community for you at freedhearts.org. Please come say hello. If you have questions, comments, or suggestions for the podcast, just email us at podcast@freedhearts.org. Audio engineering is by Luke Johnson. The music is provided by our child, the Grammy-nominated Saint Sinner. You can find out more about him and his music at saintsinnermusic.com. Please share, subscribe, and follow on your favorite platform and support if you can. And thanks for listening.